Hey guys, thanks for clicking on the video. If you're struggling with merch by Amazon or creating listings, knowing what keywords to use, what designs to use, in this video, we're going to show you how to leverage Amazon to help you figure out what is best in creating a listing. My name is Steven. This is my brother Nathaniel. Together, we have created this WingMan University channel to help you with the basics to increase your skills and to build POD assets.
My brother sounds so professional. Last week, we were able to help you guys do that, or hopefully we were able to help you guys do that by doing some over-the-shoulder stuff of me and Steven just looking at some Amazon results pages and talking about kind of how we're seeing things, and not only where we would put certain listings or designs, but what exactly we would put there. So both kind of the keyword side of things and the art side of things. I think we're going to continue that a little bit on today. Last week, we went on a bit of a tangent. There's some golden nuggets, and I think weirdly we made a show that was good for like both people just starting out, where we covered the 5-step test that we created, which we're going to cover here in just a second again, but also digging into some like very minute detailed things. And so if you're interested in that, please go check out last week's show. But today on this show, we're also going to be jumping into some over the shoulder, and again, just looking at some listings of where you could be putting things and what type of listings or designs would work well there, at least from our perspective.
Now a little bit more professionalism to housekeeping. If you're interested in building a POD business and just scaling it, we release videos daily to help you guys do that. We are working on this new motto of helping you guys build the skills that you need to create assets. As we continue to do these shows, we will hopefully peel the curtain back of what that actually means. But if you're interested, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because like I said, we do have videos coming out daily. All right, video. All right, brother. Do you want to get into the rest of this video?
Yes. So like I said, we're going to jump into some over-the-shoulder stuff. Steven has, I think, picked one place that we're going to start, and then we're just kind of go on a rabbit trail from there to see what other areas we can find, and just niching down in general to, again, just to show you guys what's going through our head as we're doing research. And hopefully there are some nuggets in there, some valuable things that you guys can pick up on and use for your own business. So let's jump into that. But like I said, first, let's cover this 5-step test again. We did it last week. We're going to do it this week. We'll do it a bunch more times in future. But we just think hearing this information over and over is very helpful, as it's the backbone still of our print-on-demand business. So if you could pull that up for me, and I can run us through that. If you want more of a detailed one, you can probably go to last week. This week, I'll just try to run through this fairly quickly, so it's not like every week we're doing this for 10 minutes. Ooh, got the laser pointer. Okay, so the first rule in our WingMan 5-step test is that we want to see things autofill. So that means when you actually go to Amazon, click on the search bar and start typing something in, we want Amazon to have those list of suggested things complete whatever we are trying to go to, because that represents that other customers, other people on their mobile phones or on their computers or whatever, are also typing in those sayings, which means customers are going there looking for products. And usually if you're on Amazon looking for a certain product, you're there to buy. So that's a very good indication for us. The second rule is that we are looking for things of similar product types. And that just means that the competition that we're going against will be similar. So you're not going to try and list a t-shirt in a place where only swimsuits are selling, because your t-shirt probably isn't going to do very well there. So we want to be making sure that whatever product we're listing, it's with similar type of products, because again, Amazon is trying to curate this list for their customers of like, this is exactly what they're looking for. So we want to use that information for ourselves and be as targeted as possible. For the third rule, we want to see fewer results. And that just means less competition. And yes, this is a very like relative term of saying fewer results. But as you start to see us doing some over-the-shoulder stuff, you'll see that whatever niche we end up in, you can usually tell if you're looking for 2 or 3 results pages in that one niche, like which one has fewer results. And that just means that there's less competition there. So we know there are customers there. We know that our product is going to fit in because of the other products. And now we know that there are less competition there, which increases our chances of having a sale. A very good thing you want to do. So the fourth rule is looking at the BSRs, and that's the best sellers rank. And that represents that there are actually sales happening there. So not only are you finding where customers are going and what they're looking for, but you're also going to be positioning yourself in a place where customers are actually spending money. Again, we're here to make money. We're here to make sales. And so looking at BSRs will give us a good idea of that. And we'll dig into that a little bit more again in the over the shoulder. But the fifth rule that we're going to cover, or that's in our 5-step test rather, is that we want to see that there is a few that have less than 1 million BSR, because again, anything under 1 million BSR usually means that it's having sales monthly, and that's our goal, is not to just put up shirts and have them sell once or twice a year, but for those things to sell monthly and actually be a reoccurring revenue stream like we talked about in your digital product. So those are our 5 steps. That's kind of the backbone of what we have built our business on, and they are just rules that we still try to follow to this day when making listings for print on demand, especially on Amazon. We've just found that this is a big help in a world where there's not a lot of information or feedback, at least from Amazon, on exactly what's working. So this is
No
our
analytics,
way.
essentially.
Yeah, this is our
A
way of
lot of
navigating
guessing
through
on
that.
Amazon. Okay, last week we talked about cats, and I kind of broke it down from a 10,000 foot view. I guess today I want to pick up a little bit. We've had a lot of great feedback. That's why we're doing this again. We left off, I think, on cat friend or cat mom.
Best friend,
There was
something
like
like that.
a fist bump action going on, and we talked about all the different hand styles and everything else. We have a few more landing zones that I want to show you, and then do a little bit of a rabbit trail to show you guys how we are starting with a keyword and then niching down, because that was something that they said is as we were switching cameras back and forth, they were like, oh, we're not seeing how you're actually doing the research. So I want to show a little bit more of how, if this is a niche that we're going after, how we would attempt to niche down and get away from a lot of competition to get to the less competitive results pages. So I'm sharing my screen again, brother.
Sounds good.
Oops. Wrong button. All right. Sorry. So cat guitar, and I actually have the 5-step test brought back up. So
Ooh.
first thing we're looking for is autofill. I did type this in. The way that we can see is just by typing some letters off, and you see that it auto-completes. Pull back the 5-step test. The next is the product type, and I guess the same with the fewer results. Last week we showed that if you type in cat, there's like 400,000. Then if you go to cat shirt with the product attached to it, you get down to, I believe, 40,000. This is a lot less than that. And just by looking at the top 10, you can see that they're pretty much all t-shirts. This is Merch by Amazon research. If you're selling on Amazon at all with other products, we suggest you do the same thing. If it's cat food, you want to whatever keyword phrase that you're putting into the search bar, you're going to see those types of products, because Amazon is putting products here that they know when customers type this in, this is what they're purchasing. So they're kind of letting you know what you should be selling if people are typing in this keyword phrase.
Just to talk about your background a little bit, Stephen was definitely the person who came up with the idea for these rules. I may have helped him sharpen them, but a lot of these rules are also just based in like the knowledge of all the other things that Stephen has done for Amazon, so private label and wholesale and arbitrage and all that stuff.
Reselling.
It's not just specific to Merch by Amazon. So what we're trying to do is help you just have a fuller skill set, but also something that could build off if you've sold in previous ways that like still makes sense, because there is it's not necessary, but we don't want you to feel like you're completely starting over by going into Merch by Amazon, especially if you've been selling on Amazon for 15 years or however long Steven's been doing it. So some of those same rules and things apply to Merch by Amazon. There's mind shift and all that stuff that we've talked about before, and we'll talk about again in future. That's not the purpose of this video, but I just wanted to pause there and say, like, these rules aren't just specific for Merch by Amazon. We tried to make them general things that are good to do when you're trying to sell anything on Amazon.
Yeah, I guess I'll just add a little caveat to that. That's why we're trying to show you guys that you're building assets. The keywords and stuff that you're gathering does not have to live on a t-shirt. When you're creating designs, it doesn't have to be only a t-shirt design. That's why tonight we're going to be talking about merch, just because that's where a lot of our current audience is, but we want to help you guys grow a POD business that's not Amazon dependent. Amazon and KDP, I think, are great places to start, but once you're building those assets, you can take those assets and move them to other platforms and other products.
And we highly suggest you do.
Yeah. So going back to this cat guitar results page, we've taken the first two rules, and we decided that autofilled, there are the same product types. There's fewer results here than just typing in cat shirt or any other smaller subset of that. And then looking at the BSRs and looking for less than 1 million just is the sales side. And I think that's why I really like how Nathaniel has it set up. This is more for just like, should you keep going on this side? Once you find a results page that you feel is something that passes these 3 tests, the next thing you're looking at is sales. And this right side represents that. This is the sales to see, is it worth your time now creating an asset? Because you want to know if people are purchasing and at what velocity they're purchasing.
Totally did that on purpose, not just because it's a nice balanced image. It was definitely for that purpose.
So as we look at these shirts, I have a tool, DS Quick View. It's a free tool. It just helps me see the BSRs on here. You can see this is a sponsored ad. We don't normally put a ton of stock in these sponsored ads as far as like if it's selling, if it's not selling, what's the design on here, the color, because these change so rapidly. But from these styles of shirt, you can kind of see they're very similar. Some have the photorealistic, some have just a cartoony, but they're all selling, and they're selling fairly well. This one, not so much. So I guess I'll lean on Nathaniel. I would say that these, because they're photorealistic, might be the style that you're looking at. But irregardless, this shows me that there's enough sales here that it's worth my time now creating some type of design and trying to get it in front of these customers that like cats and guitars. And I guess those, we are going after the cat niche, but mash up niches, I guess is what we call it, when you can take 2 popular things and kind of mash them together. Cats are popular, guitars are popular. Putting those 2 things together, you're getting away from a lot of the competition and you're really niching down to target a very select customer base.
Yeah, being as detailed as possible for the customer that you're going after. That is the beauty of print on demand, especially merch and Amazon. They have such a wide customer base. Just throwing up random general t-shirt is not what we have found a lot of success with. It's being very specific with who you're thinking would purchase this shirt. So someone who both enjoys cats and guitars and probably humor. That's kind of like the overlying thing for a lot of these niches. Like if you can throw humor in there somewhere, it usually works out pretty well as well. The other thing I wanted to point out is we've kind of talked about the 5-step test at this point, and that's kind of the where are we putting things. The next part of that is looking at what. So Stephen, if you are ready, or if I should talk about that here, you can let me know if we want to talk about like the what would you, I think would work in this area.
Yeah, the art is what you're talking about?
Yeah, basically. So
yeah.
that's kind of the keyword side of things.
I was coughing, sorry, I didn't want to be blowing up the mic.
You're good. That's kind of the keyword side of things. And now the art side of things is we're just looking for patterns. So even if you're not a great graphic designer, if you have no eye for art, or, I don't know, your art style is different than what you probably think is pretty popular, that's completely fine, because all we're trying to do is look for patterns. So it can be kind of like a spot the difference, like kindergarten game, basically, that we're playing here, because Amazon is showing us what's popular, what these customers on this exact landing page want to purchase. And now we're just going to look for those patterns. And so basically 3 areas that we're looking for patterns is the color, what colors are popular on this page, the type of art, the style, and if there's lots of filters or things on it, and then also what the shirts say, the actual text that's on the shirt, and if that is something that we think is driving the sales here. So as Stephen's scrolling up and down, we can see that there's not one like phrase or saying that's very popular that we're seeing on 90% of the shirts or anything. Like all of these are fairly different. So we can kind of skip past that last one of knowing that there's not text that's necessarily driving the sales here. But if we look at the color and look at the type of artwork, we're seeing lots of cats actually using guitars, and I've seen like, I don't know, maybe 50%, 40%, 30% are like kind of rock star cats using guitars. So that can kind of indicate 2 things to us. The color that we want to use is like these neon colors I'm seeing kind of pop, at least more towards the top now that we're scrolling down the page so far. Not so much, but more towards the top, there's some like neon colors going on. And so that's good. And then the type of art would obviously be a cat with a guitar in some type of orientation. And we're seeing a lot more like photorealistic cats here rather than just like cartoony. And what I mean by that is it actually looks like a picture of a cat printed on the shirt, not something that someone drew. So if that is your art style, or if you feel confident to tackle something like that, this is probably a good place to put art. But something to note, like if that's not your strength, or if that's not something you like think you can learn how to do fairly quickly, then I would probably move on. Like that's the beauty of Amazon, is there's so many customers here and so many niches that just because you found something that passed the 5-step test, or you think is a good place to put a shirt, if you don't think your art style, or if you can't really identify why customers are purchasing there, it's probably not worth your time to just spend all day on this one area trying to figure it out. There are so many places that you can find to put shirts. It's probably best just to move on to the next one and try to find something that either aligns more with your skill for creating this art, or something that you can identify like right away. It's like, oh, it's this saying that clearly is driving the sales here. And then you could just do text-based shirts if that's the direction you want to go. So don't feel pressured to try and figure out all this stuff. Like, oh my gosh, I have to make a shirt with a photorealistic picture of a cat holding a guitar. Like I've got to take these 7 Photoshop classes to try and figure this out. It's gonna be 40 hours of work. Like, please don't feel like that's necessary. We have people who only make text-based shirts and are doing just fine because they've identified like immediately, like, is this something I can go after? No. Okay, we just keep doing research and looking for the next thing. So
Yeah, I like that point that you're identifying what's working there, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do that. You can move on, or if your skills and the customers line up, then it's probably a better fit for you. If you're not capable, like me, of taking a photorealistic cat and putting it on a shirt, I would look at this and go, okay, this isn't really for me. This style doesn't fit my design skill. Those don't line up. I guess as we talk about skills and the levels of skills that you have, art is definitely a skill that you need to have in this POD business. Either you need to have it and be able to do it at a high level, or you need to be able to hire that out. Or like Nathaniel said, just go, I can do text-based. This is my lane that I'm going to kind of stay in, but I want to grow that skill over time. As the business grows, I'd like to do more art styles. Or you can do like that very popular, I can't remember the name, Radon, where it's like they just have bowl on bowl, and they have like butter dish, and it says butter dish right on it.
Oh, yeah, I don't remember the name of that, but yeah, it's like they found their lane that they work in.
Exactly. So regardless of your art style or skill, there's still a lane for you that you can find. You just have to match the right customer for that. If you were trying to take that very simplistic style of just Word and put it here, it's not going to work. The skills and what the customer wants is not lining up for you. Move on. If you have the skills to put something here, you can try it out. It's not, I don't want to say it's not worth your time, putting a lot of time into this, but you can test something. If you're like, hey, I have a cool, interesting cat outline, I could throw a guitar on there, put it here and see what works. I would say put 1 shirt here. I wouldn't try to say, okay, now test 10 shirts here, really dig down. Put the amount of time that you feel your skills allow you to in each one of these spaces. We're just trying to show you, here's results pages, but really it's customers that are coming here. This is really what you're trying to go. It's like the next level or layer. Most people, I think, see the results page and get stuck there. It's really customers on the other end of that you're trying to match your skills, abilities, your asset to them. And then that's where you get that purchase.
Yeah, and something else to point out is, the beauty of this print-on-demand business is, one, yes, we get to be as specific as possible with these customers, but we also get to think about our personal skill sets and what we are capable of when making this. So if your skill set is more like Steven, and you're like, okay, I can't do art here, but I like data, maybe just putting this on an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Sheet or whatever, and making note, like, here's a place that I would try art, but I don't really have the skills. And maybe you can share that with someone, or in future, if you have a designer, then you already have like this list. So it's for me, that's not very frustrating because I know I can just go on to the next one and find something that I want to do. But if you're feeling like you're just doing all this research and now you're just like throwing away all these stuff because you're not finding like exactly what your skill set matches, maybe making a list of that stuff and just having that there for if you want to expand, or if you do want to hire someone in the future. That's really what's coming to mind. I know when I first hired my VA, it was hard for me to just like have work for them to do. So if you are going to hire someone, or if you think that's even a possibility, having this as a list that they could go through and just work on. Like, I found all these places that I wanted to test shirts. If you can make art for that, then you can test those. So not making feel like all this time you're spending, you're just like throwing this stuff away immediately, which is, I think, kind of me and Steven's personality. But if you are someone who wants to just collect this stuff, it is good data still to have if something passes the 5-step test, just to categorize that somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. Learning the customer base is definitely a piece of this asset that you're building. We consider the asset the knowledge that you have of the customer base, the keywords that you gather, and the art that you create, along with the listing, putting it on different products, putting it on different platforms. That's all part of this asset creation. That's why we want to help you guys develop your skills to be able to create those assets. And like Nathaniel said, if you're doing research and this is a place that you're like, oh, I really think a shirt will work here, you can come back to it at a later date if this is the customer base that you're really targeting in on. All right, ready to go back over the shoulder, brother?
Ready. I'm sorry. If you guys are new to watching us, this is kind of how these calls go. We get sidetracked a lot.
This next results page is one that I found. It does autocomplete. You can actually bring back the 5-step test. As we can see that it auto fills. We want to see similar products and fewer results. So this one has 589, under 1,000. This is something that we try to look for. It's not a set rule. It's just something that we like to see. And as we scroll down the page, you can see that these are mostly t-shirts. The next thing we look at is the BSRs. And as you can see, again, we have a sponsored ad. We don't normally look at that. And as you can see, it has sponsored down here, and it even shows you that this is an Amazon sponsored ad. We don't put much stock into that. And then these shirts, the ones that are not sponsored, is what we're looking at. Sometimes there's one sponsored ad, sometimes there's 4, sometimes there's 2. There's just different things that Amazon are testing with their sponsored ads, but just be aware of that because it might give you a skewed perception of the results page or the customers that are coming here. So you can see these cats. These are all selling very well. And I would say, without Nathaniel even chiming in, I can almost tell what the art is. It's all dark. It seems like a black cat on black designs is what's working best here. Would you say this is too similar, Nathaniel? Unlike the other one where there was like very differences in the art style, this one seems to be.
Yeah, so Amazon has identified what these customers want. They want a cat, a black cartoonish cat with just like white eyes holding a bone and like having that text. So that kind of matches the 3 points that we talked about: the color, the type of art, and the saying, if there is one, that works on the shirt. So in an area like this, yes, you want to use those to your advantage, but sometimes trying something a little bit different doesn't hurt. So the first thing that came to my mind is just doing like a skeleton cat. Again, that's a pretty like graphic intensive thing. It's not as easy as just like a silhouette of a cat holding a bone. But I think that would kind of set you apart and still hit some of the major things that customers are looking for when they go here to this page. So doing like a skeleton cat holding a bone is just like the first thing that popped in my head, but making sure that you're using "I found this humorous" as the text, trademark checking that, all of that good stuff. But if you're not able to do a skeleton cat, doing a cat silhouette maybe in a different form, if you scroll back up, like most of these cats are just sitting, but the third, nope, right there, sorry. Nope, keep going down. Next line, right there. The second one in on this line, the cat's just in like a slightly different pose. And again, if you watched the show last week, you would have seen that like the small little changes can make such a big difference. So just trying the same saying, the same black cat with the same holding a bone, but in a slightly different pose, that might be, what gets you some sales and just the thing certain customers are looking for. And so, yeah, it is a little bit harder to stand out when the art is so exact, because again, Amazon has identified exactly what these customers are looking for when they type in the phrase at the top of the page. So you have to find a way to match what's there, but also thinking a little bit creative helps quite a bit. You can see the fourth one on this row, they just have like a different background there, but kind of the same idea, and that one's selling pretty well, has a review, and so like those are all just different things you can try. So using again, those three things that we identified, but trying to put your own spin on it so you can stand out. Doesn't always work. Sometimes it will backfire and you'll just immediately get pushed off the page because no one likes your idea, but that's okay. It's print on demand, your idea. Hopefully you didn't invest too much time, and that's why we were talking about like the time you invest actually does matter, because that means that you're limiting the time that you're putting into other ideas. And so we found putting a wider spectrum of your ideas out there is a better idea than trying to spend all day on just one design and put it out there. So it's a little bit, at least when you're starting, of volume versus quality, but that is kind of the game that we're playing here, trying to find where your skills match what customers are trying to purchase.
Yeah, I just want to point out just some small changes and maybe shed some light on how we go about testing these products. These are very similar cats. Like the bone is in the same position. The cat has that same like leaning over, but you can see the tail is different on both of these. I just want to point that out to say like they're not the same exact, even though it looks very similar. This one has it top right. It's definitely easier to read than this one. And this one I think is even easier. It does have this complete different style of it, but as we scroll down, I think this is the part where last week people were asking me to do this and I just got lost in Nathaniel's art talk. But something that I look at is the price point for sure, and then the reviews on it, and then the BSRs. This one today has a better BSR, but I would say they're very similar. You can track this over time if this is really a niche or a customer base that you're trying to go after and really try to figure out what's better to go after. We're showing you a snapshot in time, but really if you go back to these pages, like even once a week, you'll start to get a much better understanding of the customer base and what's happening on this page. Sometimes they change drastically, sometimes there's just small changes. But I would say the keywords in here, the funny cat lovers gift and the I found this humorous, this person I think is doing a better job at targeting customers that are looking for this saying, even though he does have it in his title. I believe as of now, the second month of 2020, putting the keywords in the description or the brand has a better indexing chance than putting it in the title. This vintage along with funny, I think are very overused keywords. As I'm doing a lot of search results, I know that customers are using funny. I don't know how many customers are using the word vintage. It doesn't seem like that many. I could be very off with that. Every niche is different. But as far as this cat niche, it doesn't seem like many people are using that additional keyword of vintage when they're looking for cat stuff. So it's just, again, knowing your customer base, knowing the keywords that they use, understanding that, and then being able to develop a better listing by looking at your competitors and kind of seeing what's happening. Again, looking at a snapshot, it's kind of hard to tell like what's working better, but I would say this one without the colors has a higher price point and very similar ranks. And this one, even though it's a lot lower price point and has selling theoretically a little bit more, I would say this one is the style, or at least the text and information that I would look at over this one as far as gathering keywords, looking at my competitors and see it's working more. I would suggest if this is really something you want to go after, tracking this over time will give you a much clearer picture of what truly works here. Did you have any other art to add to that one, brother, before I go on to the next?
No, I think we can move on to the next one.
I was going to show that. All right, let's dive back into the next one. I am a cat shirt. As you can see, it auto-completes. I'm going to bring back up this 5-step test. Hopefully you guys are knowing this by heart now. Auto-complete, the similar product types, fewer results, the better. It just means less competition. I showed that it auto-completed. You see that there's 104. And then as we scroll down, oh, did I put these two? No. This is something, another note to look at. So it's showing results for I'm a cat instead of I am a cat. Just something to take note of. As customers are searching, they might actually be searching it this way more than the way that I typed it in or the way that you typed it in. So it might be something to do additional research on to see, oh, is this I'm a cat the way that people search, or is it just that there's so low volume traffic coming here that neither of these are really all that great? And as we scroll down, you can see that they're hoodies, not really t-shirts. And even as we're looking at the t-shirts, this one has extremely high BSR. This one doesn't have BSR at all, neither does this one. And then you can see that these don't really have the same saying on them. This one has a different saying. This one's selling better. I would say just by looking, and maybe I'll scroll out a little bit more so you can see a better picture of what I'm saying. This is probably not a place that it's even worth putting time into. So even if it autocompletes and there are very low results, you need to be able to see sales. Like you need to be able to see BSRs, you need to see less than 1 million, but don't get distracted, I guess, by going, oh, look, this one's selling like hotcakes. So is these are really selling really good. I'm going to go after this. If you look at the product types, that will give you a clear indication of this is not necessarily what I'm selling. I can't sell these. Well, if you're just doing merch, you're not going to be able to sell these with bunny ears or whatever cat ears. You could maybe sell this long sleeve shirt, but the style, I think, is really what the people are going after, not necessarily the saying. So this might be an indicator that it's not worth your time putting it in. So if you see something like this where it says show results for, and it says a different way that customers are searching, and if you look at the page and it's not really the same products that you're selling, and the design, even though it says I'm a cat, as soon as you go to the shirts, they're not, even though they're selling very well, you can assume that the customers that are typing in I am a cat, they're not really looking for this style of shirt. You can assume they're looking for this, but there's just no customers purchasing that. So it's an indicator to me that it's not worth putting my time, energy, or effort to go and try to design something or even do additional research in this results page or these potential customers that would be searching for I am a cat.
Hold
Now,
on.
if you can do these.
I agree. I agree with what you're saying, but my whiskers, for puns, are sticking up on this one, just because of the way that that is spelt. So the show results for I am a cat shirt is just like a completely different way of, yeah, and maybe searching that will give me some clarity.
It's going to show the same results page because that's what it actually defaulted to.
Well, I'm here's why I'm curious. I think maybe customers are typing it in that way, which is like incorrect grammar, but it's probably like funnier as a design. So I would say yes, Steven's right, but there's just something that like is catching my interest about this. And so if you were to create a shirt, I mean, you could do a fairly straightforward text-based shirt with spelling it IMA, the actual letters cat, putting that text on the shirt, again checking trademark, and then just adding like a simple cat graphic, probably something cartoony, maybe keeping it white on a black shirt, because that's like the other things that I'm picking up on this page. So if you go back to shirt, kind of using some of the
I hear what you're saying, and I think that's a valid point. I just think for this one, I think I'm a cat is actually this food is really why Amazon is suggesting this IMA.
it is spelt differently though.
I mean, it is true, but the fact that this is what's showing up is this food, I think people are misspelling it, and that's why it's coming up.
Okay. Well, if you are,
but again, you can test it.
like
Yeah,
me, yeah,
there's no like
just
defined. You can see me and Nathaniel don't always agree on everything, but I think it's maybe worth testing. For me, from doing a lot of the research, I would assume that it's this one. But like I said, or Nathaniel said, you're going to have to trademark check it either way and see, and then you can test it. Maybe there are people typing in this I'm a cat and looking for hoodie because it is I am a cat and then hoodie.
Yeah, just because there's no other results and there's no one trying this, I think that those things are worth trying. When you're seeing something spelt a certain way on Amazon, there's no representation of it, at least trying it out. And maybe there's no representation of it because it just keeps getting pushed out and no one's buying that stuff. But again, if you can do that quick enough to test that thing out, I think it's worth a shot in the dark to see if you'll be the only person coming up for this results, or this only person who's actually targeted the customers that the way the creating something that they're looking for. So
I think this is a good discussion point. it goes back to, is it worth your time, energy, and effort? For Nathaniel, I would say for sure, because he's an artist and he can put something together within seconds to target that and then create the listing. And if we're already doing cat research and we have all that information, he can just pull from that, build a listing very quickly. If you only have 10 slots, I would say going after stuff like this is probably
Mm.
not worth
Yeah,
the
that's very
time.
like fringe type of
So if
things.
you have a large account and you're just like, I want to use 10% of my account to test different things, I think what Nathaniel said is an excellent point. For me, I guess as I'm trying to show this, I know a lot of people that are newer are messaging me, so I'm trying to filter a lot of my advice through that. And again, this is where, this is why I love POD. The business can be run in so many different ways. There has been, I should keep track, hundreds of times where me and Nathaniel have disagreed on something and we've both been right and both been wrong, and one's been right and one's been wrong. That's the beauty of this business. Like this, Nathaniel will say, I think it's worth testing. I say, test it. We get a lot of questions. Should I do A or should I do B? That's why we say do both, because ultimately the customers, the market is going to dictate if that works or not. We have tested and tried a lot of things that I was like, this is going to work for sure. And it does not work at all. It blows up in our face. Or there's things that we go, like this IMA. We'll test it and then it takes off. And then all of a sudden we are dominating that space. Oh, customers were typing this in. We just didn't understand what the customers want. Nathaniel was able to test a few different designs, and those is what really they're looking for. They're not looking for I am a cat. They are truly looking for I'm a, that's a southern way of saying it. I don't know what it is, but those are the things that you can kind of stumble across. I would just caution you, if you're not a designer and it takes you a long time to do listings, these fringy type possibility areas are something that you should maybe limit, like I said, 10% of your account on, and really go after the things that have a lot more sales velocity, seems like you have a better understanding of it, and go in and test and then try out and figure out what works best for you.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to throw a wrench in that, but sometimes those little hairs in the back of your head start standing up, and I'm like, there might be something
Well, that's why
here.
I like
So,
having these conversations, because we've been doing this for a very long time. And I think when we have those ideas, let's just discuss them,
right.
because this is why I'm seeing it this way. This is why you're seeing it this way. We work together. We have a very successful business because we can do both. POD does not have an upfront cost. We can test both those ideas and we can test them very rapidly. If I want to move on, I just move on. If Nathaniel wants to work on it, it only takes him a few seconds to message the team, and then they just do it. If you don't have a team and you're doing all of this, I would limit the amount of testing fringy type things where you can like go in and see what's working, be competitive and compete in a space. It's, I guess, the blue ocean idea. There are, like Cat Shirt is a red ocean. It's very vicious. There's a ton of competition. Or the blue ocean, like that Guitar Cat, that's a little bit more blue ocean. There's not as much competitors in there. You might have a better chance of competing and finding success there. This additional idea, Nathaniel's going way out in the deep waters to find blue ocean. There just might not be any fish there for him to
There might
catch.
not be even ocean there.
Or it might be a honey hole where there's a ton of customers looking, because we have stumbled across that. It's just, I think as you get a better feel for it, you can kind of know what's going on. The fact that I typed in IMA and it came up as food product, and I know a little bit of how customers are searching, my assumption is they're misspelling it. But that's an assumption. I do not have a fact to go, this is exactly what's happening here. It's a guess. We're both guessing. Either one of us could be right or wrong. Because we have teams and we could go after it, I would say, okay, test it and let's see. Don't put hundreds of products there, but put 5
Yeah,
there
well,
and see what happens.
that's what I was going to say. We're not going to test this. So if you are out there and you feel like you can make a piece of design or something pops to your head that you can quickly get this done, I would encourage you to test it. And then I would love for you to tell me that I'm right and that you are having sales on this. If
That's
not,
almost
then...
something we could do, is as we do more of these over the shoulders, we could disagree and then be like, okay, it's on you guys now. Prove us right or wrong.
Yeah. So we
Team
can see.
Steven versus Team Nathaniel.
I have a feeling that Steven's right. That's why I said I don't want to disagree with him. But there are some times when those hairs just stick up and you're like, there might be something here. It's worth testing. So if anyone else there wants to test it, let me know that you tested it, and then let me know when you have sales, or just send me the link directly so I can buy it and then prove myself right.
I guess that's another thing. When you know your niche well, these things that are, Nathaniel saying his hairs on the back of the neck standing up, when you get that gut feeling, that I think is what it comes from. When you do a lot of research and you really know the niche, you can put something in and be like, there's something here. This is standing out to me. I want to test this. When you're going brand new into a niche and those things stand out, there's could be a lot of false reasons or misspelling or something could throw that off. But if you're entrenched in that niche and you go, oh, I've seen that I'm a somewhere, it's from the Spanish cartoon of whatever, or it's just a common saying that it won't be trademark problem. Like you have a depth of knowledge. That's where those assets get built. And then you can go after those customers and have a lot more success
Yeah.
than somebody like us coming in and just going, we don't know nothing about this. We're going to test it and try it out.
Yeah, and maybe that's where it's coming from. I don't have a ton of stuff in the cat niche, like Steven said. It's kind of a red ocean over there. But I do know that like misspelling stuff to be like cutesy is fairly popular right now. And so that's why it just like crossed my mind. Like, oh, maybe they're misspelling that on purpose. And there's like, a chunk of the internet that is craving these shirts, but no one's out there making them because they're like, why would you ever misspell this thing, just to make it funnier or whatever. So something worth trying, I think, if you feel you have the skills to do so. And I'll be very happy if I'm right on this, but I might not be. That's fine.
It'll be interesting if we could do a lot more of that public this is what I think, this is what you think, and we're testing it and then it goes one way or another. That's why I think if we could, I love this community. I would like to bring more people into kind of what we are doing. We do test a lot of things. We kind of have the niches that we're going after now, so we're not testing that many new niches. But as we do research, as we help you guys, as we do these over the shoulders, I'll attempt to bring in trends or niches and then have you guys go after them. And then I'm sure there's going to be things that me and Nathaniel disagree on or agree on, and then you guys can test the market, and then we can have that discussion either in the Facebook chat or over on our YouTube channel. We would love that. Something that we did last week was ask people to leave comments in the description about what niches or possible trends that they're going after, and the election was something that a lot of people talked about. So I just wanted to do some quick, this is how we kind of go after it as a starting path, just so you can see kind of how we, from a 10,000 foot level, come down to it after doing like market research off Amazon and just seeing, is this worth going after? We found a seed keyword. Now we're going to start using that seed keyword to kind of use Amazon, leverage Amazon to find out what we should be creating and what direction we should be moving in. So to share my screen again, do you have something, brother? I thought, no.
No, I was going to let you go ahead with this one. I'll add my 2 cents when it comes to art.
Well, I still want you to, sorry, go for it.
I think the thing that was going through my head is like you should be not in this call because I know it's a completely different skill set and something you have to learn, but finding how you're getting to these seed keywords, or is that what you're about to do?
No, yeah, we have some videos. I don't know if they're put all the way together. I think me and Common are going to start working on those to just go starting from 100% zero. This is how we find keywords. I think most of the teaching that we have comes in from people that, like we suggest, what are your hobbies? What are your likes? Pull from that and then go. But I think we're going to try to go even farther back from that. Like if you have zero, this is what we would do to at least get the seed keyword. We have a lot of free training, and I'll even put some in the description where we talk about keywords, talk about how we do research, how we find seed keywords from things that we're already semi-interested in, and even testing those and some different strategies that we have. But this is not that. This is if you have a seed keyword and you're going to Amazon and you're really focused on merch by Amazon, this is how we would at least start looking for smaller segments and niches in this idea of this 2020 election.
Yeah, that can be a little bit tedious to do. So I think that's why Steven's saving us here. But we can jump back into this.
But I just pulled straight from the comments in the last video, and election was the word that I decided was going to be the seed keyword. Just like last week, we take that single word and put it into Amazon just to kind of get a feel for what the number is. So 70,000 is kind of the higher end. So when we're doing fewer results, 70,000 is kind of the ceiling. So kind of we can start gauging a little bit better of less competition. And again, these are not shirts, just in the, everybody that's using election theoretically, because Amazon hides results sometimes, but this is, again, just to help you kind of gauge when you're doing research, what numbers you should be looking at. So I'm going to type in election shirt and it does autocomplete. That is also another good sign. So you can see we went from that all the way down to 10,000 results. And what we're looking for is it auto-completed. So far, so good. Same product types. We're taking a second. And then fewer results. We're already starting to get away from those results. And then we want to see sales. And this is, as we're doing research and leveraging Amazon, if I'm going to start niching down, I want to start at the top and see, is it worth me continuously going down this direction? Do I need to change my seed keyword? Is this customer base too small, or is it just using a different terminology that I don't understand yet? I'm just trying to gather all that information as I start doing some niche and slash results page research. You can see 3 sponsored ads. I don't necessarily discredit them at this stage, but I just want to see if people are running sponsored ads, are they selling? Yes. Good information to know, but not really what I'm truly looking for. This Trump, vote for Pedro. This is from a movie. I'd be very cautious doing trademark check. Again, Trump, Bernie, Trump. So from here, what I would do is say, hey, there's a lot of Trump products. You can start going down that direction and then just type in Trump and almost use Trump as your seed keyword. But for this, again, we're going to try to stick to election and niche down just an election. Nathaniel, do you see anything as far as art goes that stands out to you that you might want to keep in the back of your head as you go down and do additional research?
I mean, yes, this is America, so red, white, and blue. Clearly, the colors
This is America.
Are sticking out, and just kind of like the classic like layout for talking about politicians. But something that I want to note about like trademark in this area is that some things can be a little bit gray and unclear of what we're able to use and not able to use, like putting an actual picture of Bernie and just certain things like that. So my suggestion would just be to use like things that they're saying, or not necessarily like putting their face on there, or talking about them directly, but like one of the biggest shirts that sold years and years ago was like or I guess the last election, I guess, was basket of deplorables. So like not necessarily saying Hillary 20 or whatever it was, 14, 18, whatever the last election is, but saying like something that
this is how political we are, brother. We don't
yeah,
even.
not really. I'm sorry.
It's 4 years ago.
I can't even do math. I'm like so lost. But taking something that she said and using that on the shirt. So yeah, like elect women, like that's a pretty safe thing to put on a shirt. Still worth doing trademark research on, but getting away from using like exact names or their picture or their likeness or anything like that is just something to be aware of. This isn't something that I'm personally going after, so just keep it in mind that some of this stuff can be gray area. It's not just because everyone else is putting Trump's name on a shirt, like should you try that as well? Just something to think about.
Yeah, I guess another piece of this that I may be taking for granted, as I look at these shirts, I'm looking for similarities. So I saw this was a sponsored ad, vote or be outvoted, and it said Texas. And then I saw the same thing again on Michigan. So if you have that saying, if you have the text that that you're going to be able to just like put on a shirt and then change the actual element, that's something else that I look for. Now, these have not sold, but again, this is a trend, so it's kind of hard to gauge. Will this sell closer to the actual election? Will it change up over the course of the year? But seeing something like this, vote or be outvoted, be the difference in Texas, the fact that I could already make 2 different style of shirts and see like, oh, is New Hampshire a better state to use? And then just gathering more information. As you do research, these are all the little things that we pick up on. And if you're just starting out, it's going to be hard. I don't want to make this seem like, oh, you do the research and you'll know exactly what you're looking for. This is taking us years of doing this. What we're trying to do with these over the shoulders and just looking at the results page is just help you guys see it from our perspective. When we're doing this research, these are all the little things that we're picking up. If you don't pick that up in the beginning, that's fine. Use the 5-step test to help guide you to build a process. But as you do it more, these are things that are going to start being background noise. Dale talks about sports a lot. When you're starting to learn a new sport, dribbling soccer ball, bouncing a basketball. I don't know why I just went blank on like sports completely. I was like, what is another sport? I don't know. But those are things that like you feel very awkward in the beginning bouncing a basketball. But then after a while, you're going through the legs, you're going up, you're dunking over somebody. It's just a skill that you learn over time. Looking at results pages, even though sometimes you feel like everything is coming just the same and it's almost like you're getting snow blinded where it's just like, I don't see any difference in any of this. take a break, come back to it. But in time, you'll start picking up all these little bits and be like, oh, in my process, I know when I make this shirt, I can just have the outline and then just change up that design. I already have states that I can use. I just need to flip those in. This is in my wheelhouse. So like Nathaniel was talking about your skills and matching everything up, that might be in your process where you go, I can crank these out like crazy, or my VA or somebody that's helping me is capable of doing this type of artwork. We can make 100 shirts from this one idea. Let's test that out. Instead of going, it's going to take me 20 minutes to do one shirt, I can do 20 minutes and make 100 shirts.
Yeah, again, we have to remember who we're speaking to. If you're a beginner person, I don't think having an idea for 100 shirts is the right thing, or even using like all 10 of your slots and having the same exact artwork, like just tweaked a little bit, is probably not the best thing to do, because you're just having a very like pinpointed account, for lack of a better way of putting that, which can be good when you get to a certain point. But if you're just starting out, kind of having those, as Steven says, the fishing rods in different areas are usually your best bet to kind of see, what's going to spark something, not just like, let's put all of our eggs in this basket and see if this works. So again, remembering where we're at. But if you are, in a position where we're at, where like just having 50 ideas off of one idea is a fantastic thing to do, because there's 50 states and you can just easily switch those out. That's something that we love to do. Anytime we can take one idea and just expand it immediately, we're like, okay, this works for states. We're going to just cover every state now and see which one does the best. And so something to think about as you're moving forward. If you're looking for those ideas, something like this that's a little bit more like plug and play is usually a good thing to try to run down, especially when it's like so specific to something that's going to be extremely trendy here very soon. It's a good thing to try out. Again, we're just testing this. So I actually really like this design. I was surprised you're able to find something neutral this quickly.
Well, that's, I think, again, just from doing the research so much, I know we're not political. I don't want to go after Trump stuff. I know when people put that in election, I was like, should we really go after this? Because it's going to be a little heated maybe if we're like, hey, go after Trump stuff, go after Bernie stuff. But I know there's comedy and there's humor in this that is a little bit more neutral, and that's kind of stuff that we gravitate towards, just because we know it's going to be less problematic moving down the line, and we can go after both. If you understand politics more, go crazy. We don't, we kind of stay out of it, but we like to find that middle ground and then be able to at least try to sell something to these customers. Another thing, this might just be side for me, I think I'm gonna stick to the fishing analogies and leave the sport analogies to you. Even though I played a lot of sports, it's been so long since I played anything, the fact that it took me like 10 seconds to figure out another sport, I was like, all right, I'm gonna just pass. Another thing you said was the 50 states, and I was like, isn't there 52 states? I had to Google it real quick.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, I am not doing good. I need to go back to school. All right, let me go back to share my screen. So this, again, like Nathaniel said, this might be a little future, maybe not for people just getting started, but this is something to take note of regardless of where you're at. Just say, oh, this is an interesting idea. I could, if this sells and I only test Michigan, something that I could double down on and put other states in there. So we point that out. And then this is what we really like to see, especially for newer people just getting started. This is a simple text-based shirt. They used 3 different colors. This is America, like Nathaniel said, so red, white, and blue. This is selling, and it's selling at a higher price point. Let me just double check before I say, yeah, it's selling, and it's selling fairly well. So knowing the customer base and being able to understand them and use your skills at the correct level might take some time in the beginning, but once you kind of dial it in, you can still have a lot of success with only doing text-based shirts. This one's at $19.95 and it's selling very well. And I, not being a designer, could do this very quickly and very easily. If you're just starting out, these are the types of products that you're really looking for. Again, you will have to do trademark check. You'll have to check, if you're going to use any of these keywords, check all of them. And even this keyword phrase, register, show up, vote, this might be trademark, so just be cautious of that. Did you want to add anything else in here, brother? There's not much art here.
I mean, again, just proof that you can do text-based shirts. You can find something that matches your skill level. It's possible. It just might take a little bit longer.
I wish I was following politics to the point to know, like, what.
Yeah, I was so confused.
I was going to try to put something funny in there, but I was like, I don't even know what trendy
So
Right.
again, something someone clearly said, and now this person went to like Word, typed this up, and just stuck it on a shirt. Like, didn't even bother to push it towards the collar where you would actually wear it on your chest. Like, if someone puts this shirt on, it's going to be like
In the
over their
stomach.
stomach a
Yeah.
little bit, which is like awkward. But it's selling, and this is the type of thing that you can do around politics: is just take the saying and put it on a shirt. I would suggest adding some red, white, and blue, some stars, some stripes, like the American icona things, and just a little bit of design tip. Push it towards the top of the design so it's nice and close to the collar, so it actually feels like you're wearing it on your chest. But all of those little things, can separate you, but also it can just be as simple as this: is put white text, not even the same like boldness or anything. Just throw it up there, and you can possibly have sales around something that's this trendy.
Another thing I just want to point out, sorry, I might have clicked a little too quick. As you're doing research, and this is a trend that you're going after, you can see that this is almost the same exact bullets as that last one. Something I would do is look at the brand and see if there are other simple text-based designs that might be something that I could use and go after. Now, merch is a little funny about the brands. You can title it whatever you want. So it's not always that helpful, but sometimes some people use the same exact brand name for a whole bunch of different shirts, and you can get a good idea of what is working in that market. So I'm sure this is stuff that people are saying, and he's just straight putting it on a shirt. Um, it's this is interesting where it's just all he did was change the "I'm not a" and "don't call me." Both of these are selling. This is what we're trying to show you guys. Like, even doing extremely simple text-based shirts, finding something that works and then doubling down, trying something a little bit different, changing up the words, he's getting more sales. Now, these are not selling extremely well, but again, if you only had one of these, you'd only be getting this one sale. But the fact that I don't know how long this took, I'm assuming seconds to change it up and just put it back on a shirt, he's getting more sales. This is really what we want to help you guys with, is to use your skills to build these assets. Once something is working, figuring out why it's working and then doubling down on that idea. Like Nathaniel said, putting the colors on there. There are many different ideas that you can have from this one shirt that might possibly be selling, or looking at your competitors and seeing what's working, pulling that information and then going in that direction. I guess I'll share my screen one more time. I didn't really niche down completely the way that I was thinking we could do, but like this, elect women. Anytime you see these shirts, just click on them, see what's working, see what's not working, and then you can even look at other people, your competitors. You can see this one used white, this one used black. These are all selling. This one italics, or not italics, but
It's a different font completely,
font.
but yeah, like just split testing something different. Clearly, it's not working as well as the other two, and
Yeah, but imagine
some
if you started with this one, you put it up and had one sale, and you were like, that didn't work at all. The fact that you could have just changed the
the
font.
font, yeah.
Like, this is why I might seem weird in the beginning, but this has worked, and this has really worked for us. And this is how we're able to scale our business. We test the market, find what works, and then really hone it and get a lot more sales. You don't have to kill off those other listings or even change them. Make a new listing, do another one. That's another line in the water, going back to fishing analogies. Test, try it, find what works, double down on it. It's a rinse and repeat business is what we're trying to show you guys. You do need to know and understand the basics. You do have to grow your skills, or at least be able to use your skills in the places where customers are getting buying those types of products that your skills are allowing you to make. I should let you talk about skills, because I'm trying to
It was
figure
going
out
so
how
well. I
to
was about to give you a little golf applause and everything.
I was
You
trying to
just got
tie in like what you were saying, using your skills to match like the market. I like that. Use your
there. You
skills to
go.
match the market, and then through that, build those assets. This elect women doesn't have to live on a shirt. It can live on a hoodie, a tank top, everything else that merch allows you to sell on. Those are same products that you can use these assets. You already have the keywords, you already have the understanding, you already have the design. Use it on additional products, get additional sales. Like this person, tweaking the font got him monthly sales versus the
A
one
one
that sold
time.
once.
Yeah.
It will have a huge impact on your pocket if you do not double down and figure out what your customers want.
And you can see both me and Steven are never always right. So what I was saying of like use the stars and the stripes and make it look like an American shirt, like this person put white text on a black shirt and then inverted that and put black text on a white shirt, and that's what's working for them. So just testing different things. If you have an idea that comes to head and you have the skills and the time to do it, and it's not going to take forever, I highly suggest just try that stuff out, because you're going to learn like, okay, these are ideas that I should listen to, and these are ideas that I should just not pay attention to, because every time I try something like this, it doesn't work. But I tried this one thing once, and it, for whatever reason, has sales. So that's what I'm going to lean into. So you just got to kind of take your own personal like bias out of it, or like what I personally think is best here. Like you have to really listen to whatever sales that you're having, and the market.
The last thing I will say is I know a lot of people have reached out to us asking us a lot of different questions. We love helping you guys and answer questions. Sometimes it's very valuable to jump on a call with us. We try to schedule out time. And by we, I mean the data, whatever side he's on. He is offering 20 minutes calls for $20. We normally charge by the hour, and it's normally $200 to jump on a call with us. Nathaniel has found that a lot of people are getting very frustrated with just small problems that they're having. Last week's question of the week was just like a technical issue where all they had to do was unclick a few boxes and select, this is the format that I want to use in my merch account. That saved them a ton of time. And they said, thank you, thank you, thank you. Like, these are the problems that we help people with, but we just haven't found a good way to transact with people other than us spending a ton of time that we're taking away from our business, or charging $200 to jump on an hour-long call when it's really only 10, 20 minutes that you need. So if you're struggling, if you're stuck with something and you feel like, I don't really want to pay $200 to jump on a full hour call or sign up for consulting to help me run my business, but I do just need help with this one problem, sign up for that 20 minutes. I want to call it 20 for 20. I don't know if Nathaniel relates that name, but that's what I'm going to call it. It's 20 for 20, 20 minutes for $20. And then Nathaniel will one-on-one walk you through and help you with whatever problems that you have.
Unless it's keyword stuff, then I'm bringing Steven in. But in that link, it's a Calendarly link, so it'll just show you the times that I'm available. I forget what they are off the top of my head. I think it's like Wednesday through Thursday, maybe, and certain times. So if you can also, if you're going to sign up for time and ask you a question of like, just give some details. So if you tell me what your question's a little bit about, say like it's about artwork, or I want you to look at these listings and tell me how I'm doing, or I really need help with SEO, then I know to bring Steven in. Or if it's about the print-on-demand partnership stuff that we've been doing and the fundraising, as I'm calling it now, just letting me know a little bit so I can be prepared for what I'm going into. Because again, it's only 20 minutes. We're not trying to make these hour-long calls. So if we can be focused and on a topic, that usually works. And they usually go longer than 20 minutes. So we'll figure all of that out. But it is a good time just to connect and get to talk with you guys, which I really like doing, even seeing you guys' names in the comments and, just seeing all the interaction that's happening over the last couple of months that we've been here on YouTube is making me feel like, this is still worth doing. People are still getting value out of this. So it's encouraging for me, but it also makes this thing a lot more enjoyable to actually get to talk to you guys and not just this webcam that I'm constantly staring at throughout the day.
All right, let's jump into the question of the week.
All right, so the question of the week for this week is actually something Steven put together, and he found some commonly asked questions about pricing.
Yeah, we get a lot of pricing questions. I kind of tried to refine them and boil them down to, I think, what most people are asking. That way I can just have this be a go-to. So when people ask me additional questions, I can point it back to this video. So how do you set prices is a very common question. And then the two, I think, other ways that people are asking the same question is, what is the best price for the product? If it's a t-shirt, if it's a book, if it's a mug, et cetera, it doesn't matter what the product is. People fill in the blank, but they're asking what the best price for that is. And then the other side of that is kind of the platform that they're using. So what's the best price for merch by Amazon, KDP, Etsy, Shopify, name your platform that you're using. I think me and Nathaniel have talked about this quite a bit, but maybe not as openly. We've gone back and forth about what the best price is, and I don't know if there is a best price, but there's definitely pricing strategies. I kind of put this little art piece together. I'm surprising Nathaniel with it. I'm actually using Spark, one of his favorite tools, but it's something that I can use to actually make quality design. So it's not an artist making a piece of art. I just want to anybody that feels like they're data only, you have the ability to make art through Spark. So I just want to, again, press that a little bit. If you're not using that tool, definitely look into that.
It is definitely a Stephen original quote, but it's heavily inspired by what I have said before. So I'll let it slide because you use Spark. It does look nice. Good job. But know that I said that same thing for art not too long ago.
Yeah, I think that idea has come from us just talking. Like, I don't know if there's a best way. I don't know if there's a best platform or a best product. But there are definitely pricing strategies as far as like asking for the best price. This is kind of the way that I answer a lot of these questions, is just giving a pricing strategy for them depending on the platform and the product that they're going after. Kind of two go-tos for us are either we're in the testing phase and then we have a strategy for that, or a doubling down phase. And doubling down is just once we have something working, we go back to the well and double down on that idea. So the testing strategy, this is really a speed and quantity over quality type strategy. For merch, we use $19.99. For KDP, we use $9.99. For merch, there's many different products. So I guess I'll say for shirts, we're using $19.99, or we're on the higher end of any other product that we're going after. Because what we're really doing in the testing phase is just looking for like wide open, uncontested places that we can put shirts. If we can get a sale at $19.99, it's more than likely we can go back, price things more competitively, and get more sales. The same thing for KDP. There's a lot of low to no content stuff that we test out. Most of those low to no contents are around $6 to $8, but $9.99 is like the higher end. Again, we're just trying to test the market. If we can get a sale for that, then it's worth our time going back after.
Yeah, I want to jump in here and just, I don't know about be the voice of reason, but definitely give like some perspective to where this advice is coming from. This is just like if someone is really pressing us for an answer on like what is the best price, or they're looking for like that exact number, that's what we're telling them. Because like for organic traffic, we have found that it's there are lots of different things that we have tried, but this is always kind of what we come back to. And because for our strategy, like Steven said, you're trying to get these things out quickly and you're trying to get a lot of them out. And that $19.99 price, at least for merch on t-shirts, is kind of our go-to, and that's just what we stick with. That doesn't mean that we're trying to discourage you guys from testing things for yourself, or that there aren't strategies out there that work. If you guys would like to know more about that, you can leave a comment below, and me and Steven can probably do a whole show on just different types of pricing strategies that we've tried, like bumping it up every time there's a sale and all those like different things that we've just tweaked with. But again, back to just like if you're just trying to test the market, this is the best way to keep things moving along efficiently. So know where some of that advice is coming from. We're not saying like never try anything else besides $19.99 because it's not going to work. Like that's not true. But if this is where you're at in your business and this is what you're trying to do, then not overly stressing about it, because that's what we're doing. We're leaving all of our pricing at $19.99, and it's still working for us and allows us to test the market and figure out where we want to put our energy still. So just a point that I want to be made. And something I said quickly that I want you guys to catch again is that this is for organic traffic. If you're doing things like POD fundraising or anything like that, you can price higher than $19.99. Like I said, there are other strategies out there, but this is for people trying to streamline and just get the basics down for organic traffic. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, there is no perfect system. I guess we're just showing it from our perspective. And like Nathaniel said, there are many different strategies, but these are just the kind of the two go-tos that we use and that we advise other people to use. So for merch, for KDP, for whatever platform that you're going after, look at the higher end. And if you're just testing out the market, try to shoot for that higher end so that you can find those gaps in the market. But once you kind of find something that you really want to go after, this is what we call the doubling down strategy. This is really to target the niches that we've chosen and we really want to start going after. This is where we bring in quality a lot more, slow things down. We're really looking at our competitors. We're really looking at how they price things. We want to see what the high end and what the low end is. And we're really testing pricing at this point. Price does play with volume in certain niches. So we're trying to find that golden, gap for pricing to go, okay, if we price it at $19.99, we might sell 1 a month. But really, if we drop it down to $17.99, we'll actually sell 10 to 15 a month. It's worth keeping it at a lower price to sell more units. But sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes we can drop it all the way down to $15.99 and still only sell 1 a month. It's better to keep it on the high end of $19.99. That's why I say you got to just test the pricing and see what works best for you. But a strategy that I would look at is look at your competitors. If you're selling on merch, do a lot of merch research. If you're selling just t-shirts and you're selling in a certain niche, go in and look. If it's cat, go all the different cat t-shirts and kind of see, okay, I'm selling funny cat shirts. What is the market price for these funny cat shirts? And just get a high and a low and kind of shoot the gap to test and then play around with the pricing to see what works best for you.
And again, I'm going to jump in here, but he's talking about the doubling down strategy, and that's kind of when you have your niche locked in and you've found like, okay, I'm having sales here. Now I want to go back and put more shirts there. And that's when these, strategies get deployed. So before, when I was saying like, just keep it at that to keep it streamlined, this is later on when you are, again, doubling down, you get to see different ways that you can test the market. But testing too many variables at one time is not only just a headache for you, but it makes
recipe for disaster.
Yeah, it makes tracking like what's working and what's not working just a huge headache. So that's why we're trying to give you guys this like kind of phases that you're going through, and like this is what you should be testing here, and this is what you should be testing here. Not just like here are all the variables, like switch them out every time you make a listing, because then it's hard to understand like, okay, I did this and I want to double down on that, but like what the heck was I doing with this listing? So just having that mindset as you're moving forward is hopefully what you guys are getting out of this information. I'm just trying to give my 2 cents and clarify some of that.
Yeah, and I think because you have so much experience with this, again, I'm hard push for 20 minutes for $20. I think you should be reaching out to Nathaniel. If you're doing merch or Etsy or anything, especially Shopify now that Nathaniel's starting to play with around with that, if you're having price questions or would like to just speak to somebody and it's not like an hour long call that you just need some clarity on something, you want to show exactly, hey, I put these shirts out in the market, I'm getting some sales, but I would like to get a little bit more sales. How would you suggest going after pricing? Jump on a call with Nathaniel, because that is something that we have definitely played around with. And just like he said, we have many different strategies. Keep prices extremely low if we don't really know if the niche is truly working. And then as soon as we get sales, start bumping it up and see where that limit is, so they can say, okay, this is the best place as far as price and volume of units that I'm pressing. This seems like a good fit. I'm going to go after this. Each niche is different. Each product is different. Each platform is different. But knowing how to price and the different pricing strategies, if you're getting stuck or frustrated, reaching out to Nathaniel, jumping on one of those calls, I think is an excellent use of your time and your money to be able to get over that hurdle and speed up your learning.
Very good sales push. But is
it getting better? Link in the description.
Yeah, right. It's getting better. But it is true. Like, I'm enjoying talking with those people who are reaching out and really forming a relationship there, to the point where they're like showing me exactly what's going on. And that's kind of the point of these calls is I'm not an expert. I'm not a guru. I'm not saying you jump on this call and, everything else is going to be gravy from there on out.
Just a war veteran.
Yeah, it's just, I've seen a lot of stuff inside of merch world. I've done a lot of things inside of the print on demand platforms. So just asking someone who's kind of been there and done that. And that doesn't mean I've done everything, but I can kind of use like this knowledge of we've tried this before, and then maybe that's how this works out. But building those relationships is what I'm finding that these calls are leading to, where it's just like more back and forth conversation. So it's not like you just pay for this one call and then the next one I'm going to upsell you like, okay, now it's $200 to you're like, no, I want to help you guys, but I think jumping on this call initially to see exactly kind of where you're at and what you're going through, and just to meet you, I like talking to people face to face, helps out with everything. And then moving forward, we can just have kind of a working relationship. So I appreciate those of you who have reached out, and we're getting to see the success that you guys are having, or some of the failures that you're having with even doing the print on demand fundraising, or this organic search, and just trying to even get like the basics down, where it's like, okay, now we've made a listing, now you're waiting for like the review, and then people are messaging me like, oh, okay, we finally went through review, like I'm starting to get this. So that's rewarding for me. I really do like it. So thank you, Stephen, for pushing that. But I do enjoy talking with you guys, and these 20 for 20 minute calls are working out well. So if you want to talk with me to start this relationship, I think that's a great way to do it.
I think that's a good way to talk about it. It's a way to start a lot of these relationships. We have had boot camps. We've had a lot of different names for different things that we're charging for. They have been higher dollar things. Now that we're trying to move everything over to YouTube, we're trying to just grow the audience. But there are a lot of questions coming our way. And to start that relationship, this feels like the best place for both parties to start that relationship, and then us to help you, come alongside you like the Wingman monogram. This is what we're really trying to do, is come alongside you, help you out and grow your business. And just, I think like Nathaniel said, we're not gurus, but we have been through many wars and feel like veterans in this space. It's just from a lot of failing, testing, trying, and then seeing what really works across different platforms and different products. And that's why we want to start teaching a lot more about just building assets. And I think the asset is understanding that customer, creating the design and gathering the keywords and putting it all together inside of a listing. That way you can use it for merch, KDP, all kinds of different places, all kinds of different products, and get the most out of your time, energy, and effort that you're putting into it originally. But I think that's it.
We're good.
Do we have anything else? I know I beat you to the punch.
You did. Yeah, I think we're good. If you guys have any questions about anything, as always, feel free to leave them in the comments below. But until the next show, we'll see you guys around.